The title of today's webinar is Challenges and Opportunities in Defense Research, Role of Psychological Science, organized by the Department of Psychology in collaboration with IQAC Bethune College. We are honored to have Professor Manush K. Mondol, visiting professor at IIT Kharagpur, with us as an esteemed speaker of the webinar, and we hope that this webinar proves helpful for all of us. I request Dr. Nilanjana Bagchi, Head Department of Psychology, to present the welcome address.
A very good evening to all. On behalf of the Department of Psychology, Bethune College and IQAC Bethune College, I welcome all to today's webinar. I take the opportunity of thanking Professor Manush Kumar Mondol for giving his consent to speak in today's webinar in spite of his busy schedule. I thank all the participants for registering themselves in this webinar, and I'm sure that today's webinar will illuminate all of us about the challenges and opportunities in defense research and will open up new avenues in front of the students regarding their career opportunity. I once again thank Professor Mondol, our esteemed speaker, and all the participants, and I wish this webinar a grand success. Thank you.
Thank you, Nilanjana Di. Before starting with the session, I would like to introduce our speaker for all of the participants present with us today. Dr. Manush K. Mondol is currently serving as a distinguished visiting professor at Indian Institute of Technology, Kharagpur. He is also an adjunct professor at the National Institute of Advanced Studies, IISc, Bangalore. He was formerly a distinguished scientist and Director General, Life Sciences in DRDO from 2013 to 2016. Prior to this, he was the Chief Controller of the Research and Development Wing of Life Sciences, DRDO. He was also the Director, Defense Institute of Psychological Research, about 9 years. He holds a PhD degree from Calcutta University and started his career as a lecturer at Banaras Hindu University in 1983. Dr. Mondol completed his postdoctoral research at Delaware University as Fulbright Fellow USA in 1986-87 and at Waterloo University as an International Scientific Exchange Awardee, Canada, from 1993 to 1994. Dr. Mondol was a professor of psychology at the Department of Humanities and Social Sciences, Indian Institute of Technology, Kharagpur, prior to joining DRDO in 2004. He was also a visiting professor at Kyushu University in Japan in 1997 and again from 2010 to 11. During 2003, he was a Fulbright visiting lecturer at Harvard University, USA. Dr. Mondal received various research fellowships and awards at national and international levels, such as the Indo-Canadian Shastri Fellowship, Natural Sciences and Engineering Research Council of Canada Award, Fulbright Fellowship USA, Seymour Ketty Award USA, German Academic Exchange Fellowship Germany, Career Award UGC, Young Scientist Award ISCA, National Association of Medical Sciences Award DRDO, Spin-off Technology Award, etc. in 2000, etc. In 2005, Dr. Mondal and his team were given away the Agni Award for Excellence in Self-Reliance for the contribution towards the development of computerized pilot selection system for Air Force. For his overall contribution to psychological sciences, he was elected as the Fellow of National Association of Psychology in India in 2012. And for his contribution to military psychology, he was given away the Technology Leadership Award by the Defense Minister of India and the Scientist of the Year Award by the Prime Minister of India in 2006 DRDO. Dr. Mondal specializes in areas of neuropsychology and cognitive sciences. He has to his credit 14 books, over 100 research papers in international and Indian journals. These researches have been cited in more than 300 international journals and books with over 5,000 citations. Now I would request Dr. Mondol to take over the session today.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. I hope I'm audible to all. First of all, it's a personal privilege and pleasure to be amongst you today, this evening. And I'm thankful to the principal and other members of this college to invite me to talk on something what has been my life experience. Well, I'm a psychologist primarily and spent most of my time in the field of psychological sciences. But more interestingly, uh, I have spent little time with psychologists and more time with other branches of sciences, mostly with engineering sciences and medical sciences. And I started my journey in psychology sometime in 1973-74 and used to study just opposite to Bethune College, which is Scottish Church College. And after I completed my PhD in 1981, I joined Banaras Hindu University, and roughly 15, 16 years I spent there as a faculty. And then I switched to IIT system, where put together I also spent close to a decade. And in between, I spent my time with defense, with Indian Armed Forces, which is also about 15 years. So put together, it comes to roughly 40 years spending in the field of psychology, which I would like to share with you my life experience, where we faltered, where we could grow, and where there are opportunities, where there are adversities. The idea is not to make a commentary of what I have done. The idea is to share my experience with you so that you don't falter or you don't find yourself in a difficult position whenever you try to grow in your own field. Well, before I begin, let me tell you, since I work with many disciplines, I have found that physics to philosophy or agriculture to aeronautics, any science is good enough. If we pursue with some degree of interest, I find that there is no way we cannot grow. So with this message, I'll give you a talk roughly about 45 to 50 minutes from now, which will entail two major components, because I can't tell you everything. One such component is about the career development and opportunities for psychological sciences. In general, I'll not talk about defense at that point of time. Here I would be spending roughly 20-25 minutes of time. And then another 20-25 minutes of time I'll be spending on my life experience as a psychologist in defense. Why I wanted to tell you about this defense psychology? Because very few of us are known for this. Known in the sense has actually spent our lifetime in defense psychology. More often we talk about organizational psychology, clinical psychology, at best some other fields which are very closely related to these two fields. So idea is not to push you towards defense psychology, but only to help you develop an awareness and insight that where psychologists can actually work. I have worked very intimately with medical sciences, very intimately with medical sciences, and I have worked very intimately with engineers. In fact, when I was in DRDO, thousands of engineers worked with us, thousands, and with the psychologist. So the question is that the misconception that psychologists cannot work with others is something we must leave aside. and feel that yes, we are second to none. If that confidence is there with you, I'm sure you would be able to grow the way you would like. So once again, before I start, let me tell you that how can we develop our career? In any science, first I would like to tell, how can we develop our career? What are our difficulties? And then I'll specifically concentrate on psychological sciences. And then I'll move to different sciences. And from there, different psychological sciences. This is the roadmap I do have with me. And before I begin, I would like to share my screen first so that you can see. I'm sure you can all see the, can anybody tell whether, okay. Okay. If you can see the slide, then let me tell you my idea to talk to you about challenges and opportunities in defense research as a title of this presentation. But basically, I'd be concentrating on role of psychological sciences. Now, as I said, before we talk about any other science or psychological science, let us first try to understand our career. After doing class 2, we are faced with a career conflict. We are not very sure which line would be best suited to us. Parents would always say that the two courses, which are professional courses like medical and engineering, are the best because that will give us better job, or the job opportunities is much higher in that. But our interest may not lie there. And if we have not done so well in medical or engineering sciences, then we switch to other paraprofessional subjects. And these paraprofessional subjects, there are many paraprofessional subjects. One of them is psychology. That is, you can use the principles of applications of psychology to the people at large or community in general. Therefore, psychological science is a paraprofessional subject where you can develop professional degree, you can have your own professional degree, and then you can profess it the way medical sciences do or the engineering sciences does. So some of the subjects which are not even paraprofessional, they're more theoretically oriented, are also there. Like if you talk about natural sciences like physics and chemistry, they are more hard sciences with natural elements. We call them more theoretical subjects. So with this introduction, let me go to the next slide first. You see, when we talk about career decision making, and this is one area which we must see, that how do I prioritize my decision, that which career is best suited to me. Now, I always talk about this to my students, even in IITs, because I teach here, that when I take a decision about my career, should I prioritize my interest first? I may be having interest in literature. I may be having my ability in physics, and I may be having my expectation in civil services. Now, under such situation, it's very difficult to merge three different qualities into a career. So if my interest, ability, and expectations are different, I'm bound to suffer. No matter which, whatever be the subject you take, whatever be your ability, unless you find a synchrony between your interest, ability, and expectation, there is high degree of likelihood that you develop a career but do not find interest. It's also possible that you develop some interest, but if the ability doesn't supplement, probably you would not be able to achieve the expectations that you have. So that's the first point I would like to tell you, that try to create a overlap of your interest, ability, and expectations. Number one, in any career. I'm not talking about psychological science at this moment. Then you try to understand what is the motivation behind it. This is a psychological theory, power, affiliation, and achievement. What motivates me to take a decision? For example, some students talk to me, sir, I would like to be a powerful man. So I would like to go to civil services because I can have a lot of power with me. Some people say that, no, I don't want power. I want to achieve something. I want to win a medal. Or some people say that, no, I would like to work in a team. And I know that it's not possible for me to win over something exclusively by myself. So I would like people to be liked by me, and I would like to work together to achieve a goal. Everything is important in life. But the question is, you have to decide what is your basic motivation. How do you prioritize it? You prioritize your power first, affiliation first, or achievement first. Don't think that the order I have kept here is the order you must follow. That's not true. What I have said is the trichotomy in life. One has to decide about it before you go for a decision making. Then question comes, when I ultimately take a decision, how do I take a decision? Do I take a logical decision? Or do I ask my intuition, gut feeling? Or do I go by my feeling, what I feel by my heart? So head and heart controversy will remain. Some people go by logical decision making. Well, I suppose somebody may say that I love one particular subject, but I know I'll not get a job. So why should I go there? So it's a logical decision. Some people, when I took psychology, I remember I was a student in Hindu school. Those time it was a Naxal movement. So everybody was given the option to take any way they like this pandemic. So my friends have all gone to science and engineering. I chose to come back to psychology, and we had only 3 students. And those 3 students, I still know them. And we came, not 3, we were 5. 2 of them actually, unfortunately, passed away. So the question is, I had gone by my feeling. Some people go by their intuition, and some people go by their reason. You have to decide which is most important. Let me once again tell you, nothing is sacrosanct that you have to take this particular priority line in order to be successful. You can be successful with any priority line. Or when you take a decision, what is the guidance that you get? 3 kinds of guidance are possible. One kind of guidance is value-based guidance. One kind of guidance is social aspiration or norm-based guidance. And one kind of guidance is reality-based guidance. Now, whatever I've been telling here is not from the book. Whatever I'll be saying in the entire presentation, nothing is drawn from the book. It's my personal experience I'm sharing with you after 40 years of teaching. Now, what guides me to take a decision? Some people believe that value is the most important thing, which is eternal. Some people believe that what everybody takes, I must take that, which is not. And some people believe that I have to think about my reality. I know a very good student of mine had the reality that he would not be able to go to medical degree because he got medicine because he didn't have enough money. So he said that I'll go to a government school, government college, and there I would like to pursue whatever little dream I have. So the question is, all this decision making is very important. Unless we learn how to take decision, because no subject matter teaches us how to take decisions. Everybody thinks of having a best decision. But nobody knows what is the difference between a best decision, good decision, and right decision. Nobody knows. Best decision is a decision which has got no alternative. But if we continue to wait for that best decision, probably my life will get over. Some people believe that it's better to take good decisions. That is, if you have got too many alternatives, out of those alternatives, you can take the best one. And some people believe that, let me take the right decision. Right decision is a decision which may be self-defeating at the moment, but in long run, it will give us a much bigger value. So decision making is something which has to be done by you. I'm talking about the students. That is, unless you learn how to take decision, you would never be successful in whatever way you would like to take the decision. So those who do not know how to take decision, they are always in two minds. And by the time they take a very good decision or best decision, the real opportunity goes away. So my first submission to all of you, that learn how to take decision. Therefore, I have coined this term decidophobia in career choice. That how do I take a decision? If I have learned the process, then I have to decide that I should go by a decision which is my choice or which is my compulsion. If it is part of your compulsion, and then you have to take that. Somebody may say that, oh, well, my compulsion is that I follow my parents. Is my compulsion. Or some people may say that, no, I would like to go by my choice, whatever I feel best. There is a dichotomy between your aptitude and attitude. You may believe that your heart is somewhere else, your head is somewhere else. I may be a very good mathematician, but I'm a very good literary man. I'm sure you all know the story of Chetan Bhagat. I mean, he was a topper in IIT Delhi in engineering, but he became famous ultimately for his novels, books. Stability and dynamicity is another thing which actually gives us a lot of conflict. That I would like to get a job. A lot of people believe that let us get a government job, a stable job. Once you get a job, you will retire after 60 years. But if I ask my son, he would not like it. My son means I'm talking about anybody at my age and their children. That is, you people, the students. They may say that, no, I am interested more in dynamic job. That is, there would be challenges, there would be threats, and there would be opportunities to grow. So if I'm looking for a dynamic job, then the challenges are different. But if you are looking for a stable job, that is something which will give you a salary end of the day or end of the month, and you do not have to worry too much. Some people believe that economic reward is something which is more important for getting a job, like a corporate job, for example. Many people, after doing engineering or other good degrees in physical sciences, they actually go for, at times, economically rewarding job. But some people I have seen, some of my, not friends, I would say my next generation, they had gone for social reward. For example, I was also teaching in IIT Kharagpur, but then I decided, let me go for social reward. So joined Indian Armed Forces as a military psychologist, as a civilian, not as a military person, as a civilian. So for me, the passion was more important, purpose was less for me. But doesn't mean that I have done the right thing. Doesn't mean. But that's a choice one has to make. Likewise, life versus career is also an important matter. Some people believe that if I'm getting money through the career, then my life will be built. And some people believe that, no, life is much bigger than career. It should not only be career oriented. So if I get a BPO job or a IT job after doing engineering, I'll got a lot of good money. But by 5 to 10 years, up to 5 to 10 years, I'll be getting a lot of good money. But then if I get fizzled out because my subject interest is somewhere else, I'll not be getting my life fulfilling. So the message is that career is within life, life is not within career. If people understand the difference between life and career, I'm sure they would be able to take a better decision. Whatever I'm trying to tell you is not to inject more conflict into you. My point is that if you are aware of all these conflicts or decision phobias, then what will happen? You take a decision somewhere and you will not suffer from something which everybody suffers in higher degrees, is called apprehension of hypothetical missed opportunity. A lot of people start thinking that I have made a mistake by taking psychology. I could have gone somewhere else. If I am so good a student, if I am a topper in the class, if I have taken psychology or I have taken mathematics or I have taken physics, I could have gone somewhere else and done much better. So this gives us a disease, and this disease is called apprehension of hypothetical missed opportunity. That I have missed an opportunity in life, I cannot go back and do the same. It doesn't help. Nothing is lost. No opportunity is lost in life. You have actually done your best, and if you are doing your best, trying to do your best, any career is the best career. That's my message. Now, those who are, I'm sure the audience may be having some people more than psychology. And let me tell you, in India, we are getting three kinds of sciences most thriving in the university system. Three kinds of sciences. One kind of science is called natural sciences. Natural sciences has got two kinds of sciences. One is called physical sciences and one is called life sciences. So under life sciences comes biology, and under natural sciences come physics and chemistry. There are social sciences, the yellow one, whatever you see in yellow, management, economics, political science, sociology, psychology, history. These are all social sciences because they relate primarily to social sciences. And we know what social sciences mean because an individual, when he becomes or she becomes meaningful to society with the element of his study material, he becomes a social scientist. But there is something called mathematics. Mathematics is a formal science. It does not fall directly into physical sciences or life sciences because mathematics is a subject which gives us model to do any kind of research. Like in social sciences, if we are using statistics, a statistical model, the model is derived from mathematics. If I'm trying to see the chemical bond, or if I'm trying to understand the physical relationship between two elements, everything comes out of the understanding of our model. And this model is given by mathematics. That's why mathematics is called a formal science. Now, these three kinds of sciences we are studying in different universities and different colleges primarily. But you may say that there are some sciences which may be called applied science, pure science. I'm not going into the dichotomies, but these are the sciences generally we study. When we come to psychological sciences, because now I'll focus on psychological sciences, you will find that two kinds of domains we are studying, willingly or unwillingly. I mean, I'm not very sure whether we are fully aware of this distinction between basic psychology and directed basic psychology. Actually, there are three kinds of psychological studies domains are available. One is called a basic, which gives us the theoretical underpinning, which tells us how the two things are related through a process, through a theory. And there is something called directed basic research. Directed basic research is a research or a subject matter where the theoretical contributions are studied with an aim to derive the principle of application. And then when we go to the applied psychology, we move from principles of application to discovery of solution. So knowledge to theory building Whatever knowledge we have in psychology, from there, if we build a theory, it becomes a basic psychology. And from theory, if we are going towards understanding the principles of application, then it becomes directed basic psychology. And from principles of application, if we move towards the discovery of solution, then it becomes applied psychology. But then psychology doesn't stop there. I have seen that from application or discovery of solution, there are possibilities of translation also. I can also translate our psychological knowledge to a product or a process. Like I have developed a test. So from translation, I can go to production. That is, I have not only developed a test, I have made it useful for the entire generation. So Wechsler-Bellevue test, intelligence test, when we talk about, this is just not a translation, and this is just not another test. It has found its relevance in the entire population in the world. So it has gone to that level of production. And then what I often say in engineering sciences, that end user integration. Yes, people are benefited out of it. So lot of psychological test has actually gone into the level of end user integration level. So we didn't stop at basic sciences. We didn't stop at directed basic sciences. We didn't stop at applied level. We had gone to the translation level, from there to production level, and from there to end user integration level. But since the student population here may not be fully aware of the latter part of it, I'll concentrate on basic, directed basic, and applied part of it. Now I'm not going to, I'm sure everything is presented here. I'm not going to discuss in detail what is abnormal psychology, experimental psychology. You are all aware of it. It's a wastage of time if I start talking about it. But look at the directed basic domains of psychology, like clinical counseling psychology, human factor engineering, then sports and performance, then criminal and forensics, consumer psychology, community psychology, aerospace psychology, positive psychology, school psychology. These branches are mostly in the postgraduate level, mostly. And these postgraduate level specializations, we call them specializations, help us understand the principles of our application. Now, those who are only up to this level, develop a specialization, and then, of course, with research, I'll come slightly later, they generally get job in academic institutions. They try to get their job in academic institutions, like we have got too many universities in this country. I don't know whether you know it or not. We have roughly 49 central universities. We have 387 state universities. We have more than 200 deemed universities. We have more than 187 private universities. So many universities we have, and each university has got a psychology department. But my point is that if you want a job and if you wait for an ad to come in the newspaper, it will never come. Likewise, there are government degree colleges, private degree colleges, intermediate colleges. There are thousands. So job opportunity towards this academic institution is not a big issue. But then look at me, as I said, I have spent my life, over a decade to university system, over a decade to IIT system, over a decade to defense system. You will get that job opportunities, like this is a photograph of IIT Kharagpur. We have 23 IITs, we have got 21 IIMs, we have got 13 NITs. Everywhere there is a psychologist needed, everywhere. Then talk about the business schools and management institutions. Anywhere in the country, there are thousands of business schools and management institutions are there. Always psychologists find a place. Unless we get to know and work with them intimately with other disciplines, this possibility becomes remote. Now, if you try to find, where psychologists can actually go, you see, If you see at the picture, worldwide, this is a worldwide picture. Most of the psychologists ultimately go to universities and colleges. 37% of the psychologists go to universities and colleges and other post-secondary schools, because school psychology has become very important. Every school today requires a psychologist. Then next important is the hospitals. That is 28% go to hospitals and clinics. They are mostly mental hospitals and any other hospitals and rehabilitation centers. Rest, you get business and consulting, government, military, criminal justice system, primary, secondary schools, and others. So if you look at the whole pie diagram, you will find that maximum people go to universities, colleges, researches. I'll talk about researches, but my emphasis would be today to tell you to go beyond teaching and colleges or in universities and try to do something on your own, which I'll come up slightly later. So if you are to find your place somewhere in a real application, except clinical psychology in this country, no other program is a licensed program. But everywhere in the world, there are licensed programs for behavior economics, consumer behavior, traffic psychology, personal selection and testing, occupational health psychology, applied behavior analysis, cognitive ergonomics, and military psychology. I'll talk about military psychology slightly later. My suggestion, therefore, is that students who are listening to me, that there are so many organizations in the country which take psychologists other than universities, colleges. And there is a whole lot of list. The defense organization, for example, where I had worked for 15 years, called DRDO, Defense R&D Organization. And you would be wondering to listen that the world's largest psychology institute is in defense, and that's in India. 120 faculties are there in that institute. And I also taught in Harvard University. The maximum number I got is 62. So the question is that our ignorance cannot be something which should be taken as our defense, that there is less of opportunities of job. Paramilitary forces also, there are a lot of jobs. CRPF, BSF, CISF, Indo-Tibetan border forces, police forces, Bureau of Police and Research Administration. So many paramilitary forces also take psychologists. You may not be knowing Indian Railways has got a lot of psychologists. Lot of forensic sciences laboratories in the country are available. Lot of forensic sciences. And every SAM laboratory has a psychologist. Ministry of Labor and Employment, they take psychologists. Family and Welfare Ministry also takes psychologists. Mental hospital, I can't tell you in number. There are so many we have today. Drug de-addiction center, there are so many we have today. Central Road Research Institute, I told you traffic psychology. In Delhi, there is a huge institute called Central Road Research. They all take psychologists. That why people behave in a particular manner. For example, road rage. For example, what should be the duration of red light? How people should be cautioned before they are given green signal. And how the traffic signal take place. Everything is guided by psychologists. Sports Authority of India takes psychologists. Industry, corporate houses, everywhere there are psychologists. My suggestion to all of you is that take some kind of internship after your post-graduation in these institutions. And this internship, defense organizations also give you paid internship. Some other organizations can also give you paid internship. So in your postgraduate projects or after post-graduation, if you seek internship there, you will get to know about that organization much better. And then you will get to know where you would like to place yourself finally. So with this, I would also like to talk to you about a business model for psychologists. In our country, this notion is almost unavailable. Nobody understands that yes, psychologists can become a big business organization as well. In IIT Kharagpur itself, we have got online mental health startup group like your dost. They earn huge salary. And you will wonder, some of the Calcutta University students are only there in these companies. Like Inner Hour, Trizog, eCycling, Visa, lot of online mental health startups are there. Government of India has initiated a startup stand-up program for young scientists. They can actually apply for that startup program and they can initiate their own startup possibilities. There are technology startups also for psychometric tests. We all know about Pearson. Pearson has come from Britain, but we can also develop. Mafa has come from France, but we can also develop our technology startup. What is all about that? You develop a customized test. More often we use standardized tests, but there are adapted tests, there are translated tests, there are customized tests. These forms of customization, adaptation, standardization are exact form of test technology. Lot of startups have come. Every industry, for example, in defense, we need our own technology. We don't bother about what is there in the market. We develop our own test technology. Who does it? So a lot of companies have come forward. Likewise, guidance and counseling services also. If NCRT has got a license program for that, anybody doing license in that will definitely do something on their own. Daycare rehabilitation centers, I think, I think Mallika Dey in our Calcutta University, we got an excellent rehabilitation center with autistic children. All of you know this. Not that I'm telling you for the first time. But throughout the country, in Chennai, you will find that a lot of daycare centers are there for these children. They are earning more than what a decent salary can give you as a young psychologist. Computer-aided testing centers. You go to any GRE, GMAT kind of testing centers, you will find that they all develop tests. They do it with the help of computer. They run an excellent business. These are all psychometric tests. Market survey, consumer behavior analysis. Every industry wants a market survey. Not by management people, because management people, they understand the market much better than us. But the tool, the methodology, everything is known by the psychologist only. So they are better player in the market survey and consumer behavior analysis. So there are possibilities of having good business model for psychologists as well. It depends whether you would like to concentrate on people. It depends whether you would like to concentrate on technology, that is test technology, or whether you are interested in the process. Like rehabilitation is a process. Like mental health startup is about the people. Technology is about psychometric technology. So it depends what is your focus. Based on that focus, you can actually develop your own startup as well as a group. Suppose you want to do research. No, you don't want to go to job. You don't want to do business. You want to pursue research. Well, let us see. If you want to pursue research, what you can do. As I said, most of us do research what our supervisors say. I mean, I'm blunt about it, but let us go beyond this. Decide about a passion-driven research and a purpose-driven research. If the research doesn't fulfill the need of the community, then it will remain in the library. Nobody will make use of it. Only some people who would be doing research in that area will read that. You have to decide whether you would like to do a product research or a process research. You have to decide whether you will do a structured research or a autonomous research. I'm very fond of autonomous research, though I didn't do it in that way. Autonomous research is a research. There are a lot of counseling techniques in our traditional knowledge system, which I call a non-expert system. Using that, people actually get rid of with a lot of troubles. So what are those non-expert based autonomous research available? Can I do that? Some people go by theoretical and basic research. Some people do translational research. Because basic research are becoming, that's very important. Basic research is absolutely important. But let me also tell you the trouble I have seen. The trouble that I have seen in basic research that most of us follow the theory or what is there in the book. But let us remember, friends, 80% of the theories have developed only based on 20% of human population. That is in America and US. Therefore, we need to understand what is translational research, that if my research can be translated into a product. So people can do customary research, non-traditional research, people can do interdisciplinary research, multidisciplinary research. That is, interdisciplinary research means you can take two disciplines together, or you can have many disciplines together. You do not have to, as I said, I can do psychological research with the help of technologists, engineers. I can do my psychological research with the help of medical people. I can do my psychological research with the help of even aeronautics people. I mean, some of my students have done PhD on space psychology, and they have taken all inputs from aeronautics division. Question comes that if there is a psychological input available, you can use any discipline. So my sincere advice to all of you is that move beyond the conventional setting. That will not help you. Unless it did help us. Now, we have done conventional research only. It did help us, not that we have done something very special. But now you have to do something more than that. You have to make contemporary issues relevant. You have to support complex social issues in order to, not that you have to do social sciences research, but you have to support complex social issues like mobile attachment or phantom illusion, having a mobile sound, is something which is a complex social issue. And you have to provide grassroots solution to everyday challenges. As long as we don't do that, our sciences will not be meaningful in terms of research. So from here on, I'll talk about something which is very close to my heart, serving the nation with a sense of pride. So I decided during the later part of my life, during my middle career, that I will serve the nation with a sense of pride and purpose, rather than simply going by my own individual identity. So I tried to serve armed forces by going to DRDO. What is that I have done and what are the misconceptions? When I had gone there to DRDO, I find people, even I did have the same problem. We had a lot of misconceptions. We thought military psychology means only warfare, only war, military. We believe that this is not mainstream psychology, because mainstream psychology is only clinical psychology and organizational psychology. There is no other psychology probably. We think that when you go to military, you cannot link yourself with other sciences. We believe that psychologist in military means only stress in military person. We believe that there are institutions to teach the course. There is no institution in the country which teaches the course. I'll come to that point later. Why I'm still trying to tell you why you can develop as a different psychologist. And we also believe that there is no opportunity to grow as a career. As I said, the institute that you see here in the photograph is the Defense Institute of Psychological Research, where more than 100 psychologists are faculty as actually serving the nation. In fact, the entire Indian Armed Forces, Army, Navy, Air Force, complete selection system is undertaken technically by this institute only. People have got no idea what psychologists have been doing there. So the research that I started doing, because I'm talking more about research, not about a degree, I found that research here is exploratory. Anything that you do, like if the soldier is standing in Siachen, you have to give him support, all kinds of psychological support. Your research must be exploratory type, because no book writes about what happens in Siachen. And it has to be non-traditional. Therefore, there is an opportunity to undertake demand-driven innovation, because if we have got lakhs of soldiers posted in the high altitude, then there are a lot of demands for them. How long they should stay? There are oxygen level less than 15%. To what extent they should acclimatize? If they feel isolated, what should we do? How can I boost their morale? Everything comes to the psychological sciences. So the research here is more translational rather than bookish. And here you get a chance to serve the armed forces as a non-uniform soldier. I was never a soldier, neither I am today. But I served the armed forces as a non-uniform soldier. Everybody cannot become a soldier. Therefore, the opportunity to serve the nation as a non-uniform soldier lies with us. So what are the areas that we serve? What are the different kinds of research we do in psychology when we go to defense sciences? First of all, personnel selection and testing and training. We all study in books. But when it comes to Indian Armed Forces, as I said, the personnel selection and training becomes a very important thing. As I said, Army, Navy, Air Force, this selection system is completely guided by the psychologists. In fact, they are, by an act of parliament, the only agency which will take care of the selection system of the country for Army, Navy, Air Force. So it's a multi-axial profile-based selection system. We don't read about this in the book. That we read about testing somebody's intelligence, testing somebody's profile, testing somebody's attitude, testing somebody's motivation. We do a multi-axial profile-based selection system. It's a 5-day selection system, and here everything is profiled. The test we develop is a terrain-critical test. That is, who can actually survive in submarine? Who can actually survive in desert? Who can actually work better in jungles? You may have to develop tests which are terrain critical and terrain specific. You can develop tests for special forces. We develop tests for special forces, the special operations, combat operations, like we call para forces, we call marine commandos, we call Garud commandos for the Air Force, and all such Cobra commandos. All these commandos test development is done by psychologists only. So we develop a lot of skill-specific aptitude testing also. Suppose if I need a good sharpshooter, then it's a psychological test which will ultimately eliminate others and find the right person who can actually shoot. And thereafter you train. But the basis comes from psychology. Leadership training and development is another issue. That is, every officer in Indian Armed Forces is a leader. How do we train them? Psychologists, there is a whole division working for leadership training. Likewise, we do a lot of researches in human factors and cognitive sciences. That is, the laboratory that you see here it's the laboratory of DRDO, is situated at 18,000 feet, where the level of oxygen is close to 5% only. And scientists work there to serve the forces. What kind of psychology we require? Do we get it in the book? We don't get it. The soldier operating here is in the bunker. It's a micro environment. How soldiers operate? This is a test we developed for the Indian Air Force. Before, every pilot is selected through a psychological test. Every pilot. And if the pilot doesn't clear that test, we call it PABT. Later on, it has become CPSS. They are never entertained as a pilot. It's a once-in-lifetime test. Once failed, failed forever. Therefore, this is the strength of the psychologist who can actually devise tests and make people actually make people useful in that environment. So, performance threshold in suboptimal space, performance in high-tech environment, camouflage detection, cognitive profiling, computerized pilot selection system, vision research. We know cognition, but how many of us know indirect cognition? How many of us know night cognition? How many of us know underwater cognition? These kind of cognitions and cognitive sciences researches are done in different sciences. Those who are in the social psychology area, they will find it interesting. We do a lot of research on strategic behavior, which is basically a social experimental sciences. So we study social engineering information warfare. Today, for example, with China, a lot of information warfare is going on. We call it weapons of mass destruction, not destruction. Weapons of mass destruction. How people's mind can be distracted. I mean, are getting distracted. How can I create a counter propaganda protocol so that the mind is not distracted? Then soldier preparedness in low intensity conflict areas. I mean, then, trauma and stress management. How we can create a program for protecting people from mass hysteria. After 26/11, there was mass hysteria. Today in pandemic, there is mass hysteria. It's a disaster. It's a pandemic in pandemic. That is, everybody is getting anxious. Now, how can I protect the country? Different psychologists actually work in these areas which are practically so relevant. So, strategic behavior and social psychology people can work on that. Environmental adaptation is another area we do work in defenses. Like, as I said, extreme environmental adaptation is a very important area. The photograph that you see in the top is in the deserts of Jaisalmer and Rajasthan. The temperature is plus 50 degrees. And the next photograph that you see, here the temperature is minus 50 degrees. It's close to Siachen, minus 50 degrees. So plus 50 degrees to minus 50 degrees. And the aerial distance is only 500 kilometers. So within 500 kilometers, you get plus 50 degrees to minus 50 degrees. How people survive there, adapt there, and function. Psychologists have to do a lot of work. So loss of situational awareness, cognitive restructuring, adaptation to microenvironment, extraterritorial peace missions, even the military psychologists go beyond the country and help support, actually offer support to UN missions. So that's also the defense psychologists do. So defense psychologists cannot do all these things without integrating with the hard sciences. As I said, DRDO is an organization of engineers. There are a lot of engineers, there are a lot of medical people, they work. So when we work, we actually work with people who are in the hard sciences as well. So we raise questions, for example, the two ladies that you see in the aircraft, I mean, they are the pilots. Now, the question that we raise, that how the dashboard is to be designed. I give you one simple example. Now, the dashboard has to be designed based on psychological principle. Why? Because we read everything from left to right. We don't read anything from right to left. So in emergency, the emergency dials must be on the left side because we read everything from the left to right. Likewise, we are all right-handed people. The safety brake and the joystick must be on the right side. If somebody is a left-handed, then he or she has to sit in the other side of the chair. Likewise, automation complacency, that whenever you fly a fly-by-wire aircraft, you will find everything is automatic. So your own vigilance and attention goes down. You develop complacency, and that causes accident. How can I stop that? Therefore, with all these hard sciences, you have to work. Like in submarine, who can remain in submarine over a period of time? You won't be able to talk to anybody in submarine because whatever you talk, that sound will reverberate. You will listen to your own voice. How do you survive there? Therefore, all these studies are generally done by psychologists in different sciences and different psychology with the hard sciences. Like the magnetic resonance imaging photographs that you see. All functional magnetic resonance imaging studies are done by psychologists. They design it. And then only the subjects are put into machines. So finally, let me tell you what are the different challenges we face with the engineers where psychologists have been working. They have not been done still, but psychologists have been working with two fronts, let me tell you, very intimately with engineers. One is technology enabling capability. That is when technology support a human capability. Another is capability enabled technology. That is technology which is like a human, like a robot. So the robot itself can actually work like a human being. So we have got two kinds of programs. One is technology enabling capability, where technology can support a normal human being. Another is a capability enabled technology. That is where we create a human being like we create a machine like a human being. Therefore, we do study like how can I reinforce a human mind? Like, like if I can create a helmet which can give vision for my backside, I'll get a 360-degree vision. The psychologist asked this question, the cognitive scientist, is it possible to get 360-degree vision? We need it in defense because somebody who is at my back, I must know, otherwise somebody may kill me. So how do I know that? Can I create a helmet like that? But the major question comes in cognitive science, that whether our brain is equipped to absorb 360-degree inputs or not. Psychologists have to answer it. How do we perceive things during night? We all have studied field dependence, independence in theory. But the natural thing is that if somebody is field independent, they can only do much better in camouflage detection. Because camouflage detection cannot be done by a field dependent person. So my point is that we have studied in theory, but if I have to practice it, I have to practice it into real life situation. And if I develop a test of field dependence and dependence, I can develop a psychometric test, but military will not take that. Military will simply say, you develop a test, give me those field independent person and let them perform. And if out of 100 people, more than 3 or 5 do not perform, then in that case, I'll say that it is statistically non-significant. They will not call it statistical significance. They will say that I'll not take the test. If you have to develop that test of camouflage detection, you have to make sure that 100 people you have selected, and out of 100, 1 or 2 may fail, but rest of the people should not fail. This is the level of confidence that we all study in statistics, but in defense psychology, we do not talk about statistics. We do statistics, but on ground it has to work. Likewise, we try to use psychological principles how to read somebody's mind through EEG translator. A lot of psychologists are working with engineering background that can I create an algorithm of our EEG? And if I can create an algorithm of EEG, and then if I can capture that in a remote manner, I would be able to understand their mind. A lot of people have been working with subvocal analyzer. That is when we think, our vocal cord also elicit some kind of electromyographic signals. If I can magnify that signal and create an algorithm, I'll also get to know what you have been thinking. Because whenever you think, the subvocal speech will always be there. Therefore, engineers, you have to work with the engineers in order to understand or read somebody's mind. In defense, people work. How can I restore people? Whenever we talk about restoration, we talk about only clinical psychology. That restoration through mental health. Well, mental health is very important. But through neuropsychological program also, you can do a lot of clinical research, like transcranial magnetic stimulation. There are today methods where you have got magnetic hammers through based on which you can actually create an algorithm for a person who has been heavily fatigued or tremendously under stress. There are cognitive retraining tools. It's called virtual training tools, augmented tools, simulated tools, immersive technology tools. A lot of technology tools have come up to augment our cognitive level. In psychology, we only talk about deficiency model. None of us talk about efficiency model. This is the branch where we talk only about the efficiency model. Of course, restoration is also a deficiency model. Likewise, we can replace human capability, as I said, capability enabled technology. We can create biometric algorithm, face recognition we all study. But if I create a biometric algorithm, I can recognize in split second, and out of thousands of people, I can find out someone whom I am interested in. So if I have got a CCTV footage, and if I create a biometric algorithm, face recognitions become so important. But the basic input goes from psychologists, that how face is to be recognized. Which part of the face is more important? What should be my parameter in order to develop an algorithm? They are coming from psychologists. Finally, I can also create a human being. I mean, of course, with the engineers actually do this work, but psychologists give all this input. Like an unmanned ground vehicle, how an unmanned ground vehicle can work, how robotic cognition is possible. If I create a robot, can I give it some kind of cognition? And cognition means simple sensory motor cognition. If we can give simple sensory motor cognition, the cost of a robot will go 200 times more, 200 times. And this is simple sensory, because whenever we talk about cognition, we talk about sensation, perception, attention, learning, memory, problem solving, decision making, intelligence, all these things we talk about. But let us also understand all these steps are also used in robotic cognitions. So when we talk about computational learning, we talk about all these steps very systematically. So computational science, neuroscience, and behavioral science, when they join hand, it becomes cognitive science. Therefore, my final slide is that let us not be so enthusiastic that you start thinking about different psychology. The reason being that there is no institution in the country which teaches you different psychology. These research areas are not so explored because everything cannot be published in difference. But that doesn't mean that these researches cannot be done. We don't publish it for security reasons, but the research is not security. You can always develop a research, create a research, publish it. The investment here, I mean, you see, if there are 100 people, all 100 would, 98 probably would like to go to clinical and organizational areas, one or two maybe in one or two other areas, social or developmental kind of areas. So people don't go there. Why? Because the thought process has not gone beyond, and it has not gone beyond discipline to interdiscipline to multidiscipline to transdiscipline. There are stages of disciplines. Discipline is psychology. Interdiscipline, well, within social sciences, you can do interdisciplinary research. But if you are to do multidisciplinary research, you have to take physical sciences also into account. And if you have to do transdisciplinary research, then in that case, you have to go beyond physical sciences, life sciences, social sciences, mathematical sciences, and create a new science. That's what is called transdisciplinary science. So as long as the psychologist doesn't develop that transdisciplinarity in our thought process, we will not be able to protect our title. Nobody will call us psychologist. People may call you as a psychologist, but you have got no professional commitment. Neither you have got commitment, nor you are allowed to. Therefore, the idea is that why I said all these things is to go beyond the small idea of doing something within the discipline. Go beyond. You may not be able to reach to different sciences. There is no discipline, there is no institution which teaches you. But after you do your postgraduate, you can always contribute to defense research. And then you can go to defense and do this. Because defense research is possible by any institution, by any psychologist. Even in your Bethune College, if you like, all your master's program, 10 people put together can take a small master's program. That how rumor is engineered, how propaganda is, moving within the community, how people, behave in a given or a predictable way. Let me tell you, it's very difficult to predict a person, but it's very easy to predict a group. If you go to the railway station, you will get to understand how people will move and where they will go. But if you try to understand the individual being, you would not be able to understand where he is going to do that. So psychologists are at times obsessed with individual and the very definition of individual in relation to group. Well, for definition, that's fine. But there, we are restricted ourselves only to discipline. My personal suggestion are twofold. One is that develop insight to go beyond discipline and have marriage with other kind of disciplines so that you can enrich your own discipline. And second, defense research are very exploratory research. They are not exploitative research. They are exploratory research. You can do defense research anywhere. It requires another 2-hour lecture to tell you how you can do that and what are those areas. Some of these areas I have just mentioned what we do, but there are so many thousands of areas where we need. We have 1.3 million soldier group. We have got 1.2 million paramilitary group. People need your support. But to whom we are supporting? Are we supporting only ourselves? Is it the requirement of the science of psychology? No. Therefore, keep delivering. We need your light. Thank you. I am done.
Thank you so much, sir. It was a really very helpful, very informative, and enlightening talk for all of us. We have already got a lot of compliments in the chat box regarding the effectiveness of the talk. We would like to take the question and answer session very quickly. So I would request Dr. Moha Chatterjee, Faculty of Department of Psychology, to go with the question and answer session.
Am I audible, Devanjana?
Yes.
You are audible.
At first, sir, I'd like to express my heartfelt thanks and gratitude to you for delivering such a wonderful and informative lecture for us all. And the the chat box is flooded with appreciative comments. And I'd like, with your kind permission, I'd like to put some questions. There is one question and one comment, suggestion rather. First question is, how can one become a defense psychologist?
Yeah, that's a very good question. The matter is that nobody becomes a defense psychologist. Everybody has to learn. Suppose if you ask me this question, who can become a good poet? No, everybody has to learn ABCD. Once we learn the alphabets, then we learn word making. From word making, we learn sentence making. From sentence making, we go to poem and poetry. So the question is, defense psychology is also like that. It's a poem. I mean, the basics, when it is done at the undergraduate and postgraduate level, if the students are interested in taking their research program forward or interest area forward towards the defense needs, these are all explicitly written also in the websites, that what are the needs of the defense research. People can collectively take up or individually take up those research programs, and then if they are interested to join Defense Research Institute, we advertise every year the Defense Institute of Psychological Research, and people can join there. And we take at a master's level only. We, if they have done PhD, is fine, but we take at the master's level only. It depends on their passion, and it depends on their. That's why what I am trying to tell you, that if you do interns with those institutions, like you want to become a traffic psychologist, well, Central Road Research Institute is an institute. Write to them that I would like to do a internship program with you. They may give you some support, may not give you some support, but a 3-month or a 6-month post your postgraduate degree, if you do that internship, then you become an eligible candidate for them. Likewise, in defense also, you can go there. Defense has got 52 laboratories throughout the country, 200 institutions under defense research, but not all are psychologists. There are psychologists institute. There is one institute with over 20 detachments throughout the country. But there are a lot of people who are doing research in psychology. A lot of engineers are doing research in psychology. A lot of medical people doing research in psychology. So we believe that where we can go, they also believe that they should come there. So in order to become a defense psychologist, it's always better to choose a program of your research which is really useful to the nation in general and to the defense forces in particular. That will take you to the next level. But you can become a defense psychologist even by virtue of becoming an assistant professor in a university or a college also. Because we give thousands of crores are being given as projects to different institutions throughout the country. So I was naturally heading those organizations, and so many organizations were in touch. We have a network of universities, colleges, and students who are doing defense research, and none of them are from DRDO. They are all from university systems. So if you are really inclined, you can think about it. Yes.
Mohadi, please unmute yourself. Mohadi, unmute.
What are the ways in which the contribution of psychology in defense can be furthered in the future?
It depends on
It has been
how.
asked by one of our participants.
Yes, I think suppose I am a clinical psychologist, and if I understand what kind of isolation-induced depression we face in high altitude, is a good clinical research program. Or suppose somebody who is in submarine, what kind of claustrophobic sense we get? It's a clinical research. If somebody has got a trauma, for example, post-deployment trauma, I mean, after coming back from high altitude, maybe having some kind of trauma, how can I support them? Or before they go for any kind of combat engagement, what are the tools that I can prepare for them? So that actually, I tell you, this is a question, good question. One of our colleagues, not in defense sciences, in university, she has come up with a good booklet, a manual, that if you are under stress, what you should do. Each soldier keep it in their pocket. And this booklet we created in a, water resistant manner, so that even if the soldier is drenched, they would be able to consult it. And they consult it. A soldier is a 17-year boy, much younger than you. They are under stress for some time. But at the same time, these soldiers are so well trained that it would be very difficult to understand their psychological strength. Let me give you one example. They are so resilient that we find that if a soldier gets a bullet, he becomes far more competent to face the second bullet. A soldier is never afraid of a second bullet. If a soldier is afraid of a second bullet, after he survives the first bullet, he's no longer a soldier. He's no longer a soldier. So how do we make them? All psychological resilience training. So resilience training, who does it? Who does it, resilience training? It's a job of a psychologist. So you can do in thousands of ways, not one or two ways. Anyway, that requires altogether a different ballgame. But let us not remember, let us not try to think that psychology is all about defense. Any psychology that you do, you can serve the nation in general. It is possible only when your psychological research is applicable to society, community. It does not, your work does not remain in the library as a thesis. If it is translated, you are serving the nation. If you want more specific contribution, you can make it to the military. If you want to make a different psychological contribution, but within the country, you can serve the paramilitary forces. They are all operating within, today, for example, in pandemic, they are operating under tremendous stressful conditions. And that's a tremendous service they have been making. You can support them. They also get PTSD. We only read and do individualized counseling for PTSD. But have you heard about the PTSD? They really suffer. We do not know them. Anyway, Next, anything else?
Next question is it possible to apply clinical knowledge to defense psychology?
Of
How
course,
to
that's
apply
what
clinical knowledge to defense psychology?
I can choose a problem which is clinically oriented to, for example, extreme environmental adaptation requires clinical psychological support. Everybody will not be able to adapt. This is one example. Microenvironment. Suppose a soldier is there in the tank, in a combat tank. A combat tank, when it operates, the temperature shoots up to 50 degree plus. How can he maintain his cognition? If a soldier is in the Siachen, because of low oxygen, they forget everything else, but never forget to shoot the enemy. How do they maintain their, vigilance? You must have heard that uh, those who are sages, ancient sages, they used to go to Himalaya to do tapasya. Why? Because when you go on the top of the hill, you will forget everything. That's a natural process because lack of oxygen. So since you can detach yourself very quickly, you can meditate better. In soldier also, they also find difficulty, but they have to keep a link with the world below the altitude. How can I restructure their cognition? It's a clinical psychological problem. So there are thousands of, suppose somebody has got a phobia in a microenvironment. How can I help them? So I can name thousands of such clinical areas, but that's not the one area. In experimental sciences also, people can do a lot of research in different sciences. As I said, have you heard about underwater cognition? We talk about cognition, but what about underwater cognition? What about night cognition? Our entire cognitive capability goes down during night, middle of the night. Have you studied the cognition of, midnight? Have we studied indirect vision of our cognitive sciences? We have not. Therefore, you take up any branch in psychology, but choose a problem relevant to the society or to the armed forces or to the security forces. You will find that you are a meaningful defense psychologist.
Sir, shall I ask the next question?
Sure.
How can one apply for internship in DRDO and what are the eligibility criteria?
Simply the principal has to write a letter, that's all. You have to write a letter, that's all. That I'll be sending 5 students. It can be a group, it can be a single, but generally they prefer at least for some period, not for just a visit. You can go for a visit. That also is possible. You will get to understand what people do, how simulated cognition takes place. When a fighter pilot actually flies during middle of the night, how he perceives the world. So we have simulated there in the psychology institute only. You board on the aircraft cockpit. It's a simulated situation. You get a feel of it. So the question is, you can go there in a group. You understand the nuances of it, or 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 people, they can apply to defense institutes. There they can do their internship program during summertime, during winter time, and understand what are the different requirements of the different sciences. But why only defense? My point is that let us not be bogged down on defense. As I said, I work with the university students, I work with the IIT students. Why not you think about the other disciplines in psychology? Right from, traffic psychology to applied analysis of behavior to occupational health. So many other areas are also there. The message I'm trying to give you is that unless this is translated either into a product or into a process, it will remain a theoretical contribution and it will remain in the library.
the next question is, since defense people work in stressful condition, how effective is mindfulness?
Look, I think since for me this is a layman question. If defense people, they are trained in such a manner, if they are not sent to the stressful job, they would develop depression. In peace station, they have got more problem, not in field stations. So it's a that's why I ask people to connect. Even you can connect Fort William. Why not? I've given several lectures there with Fort William also. You can connect them, tell them that we would like to, like our students, a lot of women are in Indian Armed Forces. Lot of women. 1992 onwards, lot of women are in the armed forces. Why only in different psychology? People can go to armed forces itself, in the Air Force, in the Army, in the Navy. Why as a psychologist? They can also go there as a force personnel. So you can connect. It's a matter of going beyond our vision. You can connect any organization. There are in Calcutta, since I also belong to Calcutta, in Alipur there are police training centers. You go there, there are psychologists they train and teach. You understand what they do, develop a problem out of it. So when you design a problem, first you see the ground situation. Don't just go for the book, see the theory, because all theories are developed by Westerners. And as I said, 80% of the theories are based on only 20% of human population. Harry Trandis, you must have heard in social psychology, he only said it. So no research has been done on 80% of the population and less than 20% of the theory. Huh?
And that's all for today's question answer session, sir.
Okay.
And thank you so much for answering all the questions with so much clarity and patience. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Over to Devanjana.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mohadi. Am I audible?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Okay, I would now request Dr. Shamali Shen, faculty of the department, to present a vote of thanks.
Am I audible? Am
Yes,
I audible?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so we have come to the concluding point. On behalf of the Department of Psychology, Bethune College, I extend my heartfelt thanks to our respected speaker, Professor Manush Kumar Mondol, for his extremely informative and valuable speech. He has talked about challenges and opportunities in defense research, role of psychological science. That apart, he has also illuminated about other avenues of career opportunities for our students of psychology. Let me thanks to our principal madam, for Professor Krishna Roy, whose sincere and motivational talk with us inspired to organize this particular webinar for our students and students of other colleges who are doing their course in psychology. I also extend my thanks to our IQAC coordinator, Dr. Kamal Kanti Shom, for his sincere support to organize the seminar. I am thankful really to our head of the Department of Psychology, Dr. Nilanjana Bagji, for organizing such an effective webinar. My heartfelt thanks is conveyed to teachers of Bethune College and other colleges, and also to the students and ex-students of our college and other colleges for active participation in this program. Last but not the least, we are thankful to Mr. Akash Mondol of Brain Drop for technical support. Thank you all.
Thank you. So I'm permitted to leave.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Those who have filled up the feedback forms, you'll receive your e-certificates within a couple of days. And with that, we come to the end of the session. Thank you.